Hi readers! So before we start the show, I have a quick ask. Will you pretty please rate and review the show if you like it? I mean, if you don't like it, well, that's your choice. But if you do like it, rating and reviewing helps other people find the show. So if you take a few seconds and hit those 5 stars, that helps. And if you take a minute to write something nice about the show, that will help even more. So thank you in advance, and alrighty, now on to the episode. Welcome to The Reader's Couch, a podcast that brings you lively conversations with some of your favourite authors and bookish personalities. Over here, the couch is always booked, but I've moved some books to the side table and fluffed some cushions so I can welcome a guest or two to come lounge with us. Today on the couch, we have 3 more readers who've decided to come lounge with us and share the books they're recommending that you gift this holiday season. In part 2 of our 4-part Books to Gift series is Rachel, a Frolic contributor and the bookstagrammer behind the account RC Books and Food on Instagram. We have Caro, the bookstagrammer behind Sanjariti on Instagram. And Ali B, the bookstagrammer behind Literally Book Solid on Instagram. So stay tuned to learn more about the books they're recommending that you gift this holiday season. A dystopian novel to keep on your radar that blends fiction and history is You Feel It Just Below the Ribs by Jeffrey Cranor and Janina Matheson. Told as a fictional autobiography set in an alternate 20th century, You Feel It Just Below the Ribs chronicles the unusual life of Dr. Miriam Gregory. The novel describes how Miriam weathered the Great Reckoning, a decades-long war that strips her of friends and family and nearly decimates humanity. When the war finally ends, the new society arises. To ensure lasting peace, the new society adopts Miriam's technique to prevent tribalism, nationalism, and future war by requiring the total isolation of individuals, even those from nuclear families. The results of its implementation are devastating, and after seeing the harmful effects of her research, Miriam devises a secret plan to destroy the system from within, which in turn puts her own life in danger. You Feel It Just Below the Ribs by Jeffrey Cranor and Janina Matheson is being published by Harper Perennial, and books go on sale on Tuesday, November 16th. So get those pre-orders in or request a copy from your library. This is a thought-provoking dystopian novel you really don't want to miss. A literary novel about a mother's unconditional love for her unusual child and how it drastically changes her life is explored in Chouette by Claire Oshetsky. In the novel, we meet Tiny, an accomplished cellist who discovers she's pregnant. Her husband is delighted, but Tiny warns him that the baby is not his. She's been impregnated by her owl lover, and that the baby inside her will most certainly be an owl baby. When Chouette is born, she is indeed strange, but Tiny's loving commitment to her is unwavering. Even in those moments when Chouette's behavior grows violent and strange, Tiny encourages Chouette to be her true, authentic self. So when Tiny discovers that her husband is on an obsessive and dangerous quest to find a cure for their daughter, Tiny must decide whether Chouette should be raised to fit in or to be herself, and she learns what it truly means to be a mother. Chouette by Claire Oshetsky is being published by Eco, and books go on sale on Tuesday, November 16th. So get those pre-orders in, request it at your local library. This is an exhilarating, provocative novel you really don't want to miss. Hi readers, welcome again to the Reader's Couch. I'm your host, Victoria Wood, and here on the couch with me today is Rachel. She's a full-fledged donut-loving and contemporary romance reading bookstagrammer. She's also a Frolic contributor, and she's a person behind the Instagram account RC Books and Food. So please welcome to the couch, Rachel. Hi Rachel, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Victoria.
I'm super excited to have you here. Can't wait to talk about the books that you're planning to recommend that readers gift this holiday season. But first and foremost, I want you to introduce yourself. So tell our listeners, who are you, where they can find you, and just whatever it is you have going on.
Sure. So I'm Rachel. I'm behind the handle RC Books and Food. I've been part of the Bookstagram community for about 2 years now. It's been wonderful. In the past 2 years, aside from just reading a lot of romance and networking with a lot of romance bookstagrammers, I've been part of Frolic, moonlighting there here and there. You've probably read a couple of my pairings articles. And I've also worked with BookBow all year, showcasing a lot of their different types of book sleeves and reading beans and things like that.
Awesome. So how did you stumble on the Bookstagram community? Like, I'm getting really curious as I'm speaking with you guys and kind of getting to learn more about you. I just find it so fascinating to learn how you discovered Bookstagram.
So how I discovered Bookstagram, it's funny because I haven't really picked up reading as a hobby in a long time, because even with life, things have been pretty busy. So it just so happened I stumbled upon the Amazon bookstore one day, picked up a book off the shelf. It was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, which was a release in 2018, but I had picked it up in 2019. And then all of a sudden I was picking up books similar to that, and I just went down this rabbit hole and there was no coming out of it. And then discovered a couple bookstagrammers through my personal account, talked to them, and then that's what prompted me to join the Bookstagram community.
That's amazing. So Rachel, tell us about your first book that you're recommending readers pick up this holiday season.
So all my book recommendations are obviously going to be romance novels. And since I'm a contemporary romance reader, I think that my first recommendation would actually be The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, which is more for the steamy romance reader types because it does have open door steam. However, it is somewhat unique because it does feature a STEM heroine. It's set in a science type of setting involving two scientists. So I really thought that was an entertaining read that would probably appeal to even some non-romance readers.
Amazing. And what's the second book on your list?
Second book on my list is one of my favorites that I've read this year. It's actually young adult. However, it does deal with some complex emotions, battling grief in a somewhat lighthearted way. And that would be Lynn Painter's Better Than the Movies.
And who would Better Than the Movies be good for?
It would be good for someone who is a fan of, I guess, well-written romance novels, even though it is somewhat more of a PG type of a story. It's just a lot of young love. It has fake dating, and it does touch upon some heavier themes in a very light kind of way.
So I find it super interesting you threw a YA novel in there. Like, I love it and I'm here for it. Do you normally read YA romance as well as adult romance, or was this kind of like a one-off?
I actually do enjoy a lot of young adult. I've read the entire To All the Boys I've Loved Before series. I've read Twilight in the past and gotten back into the young adult kind of genre because of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, when the movies came out and then the kissing booth and all that. So it's something I just enjoy. It's a comfort read type of genre for me.
Awesome. And tell us about that third book on your list that you're recommending readers gift this year.
So the third book on my list is a heavier type of romance. It's written by Helen Huang. It's the third book in her series, The Heart Principle. It's gut-wrenching, but also very heartwarming. It's something that you can really empathize with the main character. And it does deal with, it's like it's written by, own voices and neurodiversity. So it's something that is for the serious romance reader as opposed to the rom-com type of genre.
So see, I find it super interesting because when I asked about how did you discover Bookstagram Rabbit Hole, you mentioned the Kiss Quotient, which also was written by Helen Huang. So it's kind of real cute that now you're recommending her latest. So I kind of like that.
Yes. This one is different from her other two in the series. I definitely recommend it. And you don't even have to read the previous two novels to jump into this one.
So here's my follow-up. Would you recommend, maybe, if someone's just interested in Helen Huang, they look her up, they see, oh, she has all these books, would you recommend readers buying all three, The Kiss Quotient, The Bride Test, and The Heart Principle, as a set to gift a friend?
Yes, I think so. I think it would make a wonderful gift.
I know I would be super thrilled to receive all three books. That would be an amazing gift idea. So tell us, Rachel, what else do you have going on for the holidays? Do you have any plans? Are you gifting books? How is your holiday shopping going?
So my holiday shopping is somewhat halfway done, I should say. I do have a few books that I'll be gifting this season, a couple to some Bookstagrammers and a couple to some friends from home. And we'll actually be traveling because I currently live in the East Coast. So we'll be traveling to California for 10 days next month, which I'm very, very excited about.
That sounds amazing. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on the couch, lounging with us, and giving listeners some amazing book recommendations.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ooh, someone's at the door. Coming to join us on the couch is Caro. She's a Latin book lover and bookstagrammer who loves romance and fantasy. And you can find her on Instagram and TikTok at Sanjariti. And you can also find her on Twitter at pjowrites. Hey, Caro.
Hi, Victoria. Thank you so much for having me.
Are you kidding? I'm super excited to have you here. I'm thrilled you could come on the couch and lounge with us. And I'm really excited to hear about the books you're planning to recommend.
I'm very excited to talk about them.
Yay. So before we get into the book recommendations, I want listeners to hear from you directly. Tell us about you, where we can find you online. What are you into? What are you doing? What are you working on? Just spill the beans.
Yes. Well, as you said, I'm a bookstagrammer, so my primary page is Sanjariti on Instagram. You can also find me on TikTok as well under that same username. And then my Twitter is PJO Writes, so PJO Writes for Percy Jackson, because when the Disney TV show news broke earlier this year, like late last year, I had to change my username. And since then, I've been like, no, I can't change it back. Like, it's okay to be off-brand just for my childhood book love. But for Sanjariti, my page is focused on diverse reads, primarily focused on BIPOC authors, and especially books by Latin authors, since I am Latin myself. But I do like to highlight different genres, from fantasy to young adult to romance and everything in between, sci-fi and historical fantasy and things like that. And I think the books that I chose for my recommendation today kind of showed that pretty well, because it's quite a mix. But yeah, and so I just love to read, and so that's really what my page is about, is not only showcasing the books that I've read that I love, but gearing up readers for new releases and introducing them to new authors that I think that they would really enjoy. And so I'm really excited for December, because I have a lot of different books that I'm going to be talking about that will be releasing either late this year or early into next year, that I'm just super happy to talk about.
Awesome. So be sure to find her page, y'all, Sanjariti, so you can follow with her new reads as well. But I'm curious because the more I've been talking to readers, especially Bookstagrammers, because that's where I connected with you and other readers first. How did you discover the book community? Because I think it's just so fascinating. Bookstagram itself, it kind of feels like we're in our own little unique world in there. How did you discover the Bookstagram community?
Yeah, it's a small niche, even though when you are in the book community, you're like, oh my God, there's so many of us, right? I actually found it because of an old friend of mine. I had just gotten back into reading because of a book that they had recommended. They had recommended I read Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. And they were like, oh, you're going to love it. Like, I feel like this is perfect for you. So I read it and I fell in love. And then I was like, who else? Like, I was like, I don't want to just bug you like with everything that I want to talk about with Henry and Alex. So like, who else can I talk to about this? And they were like, oh, well, if you make a bookstagram, like, I'm sure you'll find tons of people who will want to talk about this book. Like, it's super popular. And so that's just kind of how my page started. And then it kind of fell from there of me reading the books that I had. It was a really small collection because I'd gotten rid of quite a few books when I was in high school because I stopped reading in high school because high school English classes made reading seem super boring and like absolutely just the worst thing and like the last thing that I wanted to do. So I got rid of some of my books because I was like, well, I doubt I'm ever going to read these again, which clearly I lied to myself. But I was like, I'm never going to read these again. So I donated a lot of them or like just gave them to like my niece and nephews. And so I really just only had my Percy Jackson books and then just a select few books that I'd kept from college and stuff like that. And I was like, well, this is a good starting point. And then from there, my book collection has amassed quite a bit. I had to buy new shelves to fit all of my books and things like that. But yeah, finding the Bookstagram community through one of my online friends was honestly such a great thing because it opened the door to a wonderful community that led me to people like you and other fellow readers, right, that just love to talk about books, but that are also just such kind and genuine people, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the community too. So, Caro, tell us about your first book recommendation.
So the first book that I chose was A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria. It is the second in her Primos of Power series that she has. The first book was You Had Me at Hola, which came out last year, I believe in September. And so A Lot Like Adios came out this year in 2021. And it is just a fantastic rom-com book. I will call it a rom-com just because I want it to be a rom-com film as well. So I'm like, if I manifest it, it'll happen, right? That's how my brain works. But a quick summary of A Lot Like Adios is basically asking the question, what would happen if the one who got away came back? And so our main character, Michelle Amato, is living in New York. She's killing it at her job, and her former best friend slash maybe flame comes back to New York looking for her help. And so she's kind of like, will he, won't he? And Gabe, who is her former best friend, is also will she, won't she? And so it's a very interesting second chance romance that I just absolutely adored.
Yay. So who would this book be good for?
So I'd say that this book is perfect for any romance reader in anyone's life. So anyone that you know that loves romance with a little bit of spice, I think will be a big fan of this book. But also anyone who loves specifically the second chance romance trope and returning loves and things like that. And also anyone who is a fan of reading about and hearing about delicious Latinx food and that won't mind getting hungry while reading this book.
I love it. And to be fair, A Lot Like Adios is one of my personal favorites for the fall. So thrilled that you included that one. So tell us about your second book recommendation.
So my second book choice is the first in a duology that actually just came out. The second book came out today, These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. So it's a 2-book series, These Violent Delights being the first book and Our Violent Ends that just came out today, November 16th. So These Violent Delights was published in 2020, and it is a historical fantasy book that is set in 1920s Shanghai, China. And it is a loose retelling of Romeo and Juliet. And it is something that is absolutely incredible. It's a debut and it's just heart-stopping and super imaginative. And I absolutely adored Chloe's impeccable writing in it. For a debut, it was excellent.
And who would you recommend this book to?
So I recommend These Violent Delights for history lovers, anyone who wants to see little bits and pieces of 1920s Chinese history mixed in to the fantasy world that Chloe has created in this book. But it's also perfect for fans of the 1920s, anyone like me who loves to read about that decade because sadly we couldn't live in it, and who may also be a fan of The Great Gatsby. I think will thoroughly enjoy this because you get all of those decadent, rich vibes of the 1920s through Chloe's writing. But it's also a great book for anyone who may be interested in diving a little bit more into the historical side of fantasy books or just history in general. So if they're not too sure about historical fiction, maybe historical fantasy is the better route for them to start with. It dips their toes into history a little bit while still keeping some magical realism and fantasy a part of it, and I think it would be perfect for them as well.
Awesome. And your third recommendation is?
My third one is Iron Widow by Xiran Jay Zhao. And that one just came out this year in 2021. It is a young adult debut from Xiran. And it is pitched as a Pacific Rim meets The Handmaid's Tale story, which I think is thoroughly accurate. I've never seen The Handmaid's Tale, but I definitely got Handmaid's Tale vibes from the book, so I absolutely enjoyed it. It is a retelling of the story of China's first female emperor and her rise to power. And it is rich in both historical Chinese stories, but also fantasy and sci-fi elements that give it a really incredible twist, something that's really unique that I haven't seen in the sci-fi world in a very long time, I think. I think that it does an incredible job of mixing fantasy and historical elements very well while still keeping a really nice, fresh attitude. And it honestly kind of reads like a manga or an anime. So for manga readers or anime lovers, I'm sure that they would enjoy it because it kicks off right off the bat and you go running. And it's honestly like just action after action after action, and you never get tired of it. And I would say that this book is perfect for anyone who loved the movie Pacific Rim. I was a huge fan of it, and of John Boyega, who's in, is he in the first one? I don't remember. But either way, anyone who's watched either of the Pacific Rim films will absolutely adore this book. I also think that it's perfect for any sci-fi fan, whether Star Wars, Star Trek, anything like that. Sci-fi fans everywhere will probably very much so enjoy this. And I also think it's great for anyone who is looking for a ruthless, vengeful character that they want to see take the head on in a story, especially a female character, which I feel like we don't see much of.
That's amazing. So quick recap. Your three books are?
A Lot Like Adios by Alexis Daria, These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and Iron Widow by Xiran Jay Zhao.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a curveball at you. What book are you hoping to receive this holiday season, or maybe you're planning to treat your shelf?
I think I'm going to treat my shelf to These Violent Delights just because I think Chloe is a great writer and deserves all of the love and support, but also because I really want to get to the sequel and I want to have both of them on my shelf and looking real pretty.
Yay, love it. Caro, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your books. I love them.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Our other guest has arrived. Here to join us on the couch is Ali B. She describes herself as someone who runs on coffee and Bravo TV, and she enjoys reading romance, young adult, and non-fiction books. And you can find her on Instagram at Literally Book Solid. Hey, Ali.
Hey, how are you, Victoria?
I'm good. So excited to have you here. I can't wait to talk about the books that you're planning to gift and recommending readers to gift this holiday season. But before we get there, tell listeners who you are, about yourself, where they can find you, what you have going on. Just spill all the tea.
All right. Well, like you said, my name is Allie, and you can find me on Instagram at literally book solid. I also have a blog by the same name, and they're all linked under my Instagram. I'm a bookstagrammer, and I live in St. Louis County in Missouri. I'm a middle school history teacher, so I kind of get the best of both worlds where I get to talk history books and just books in general and like YA books with my students, but then I mainly read romance. So I love kind of bopping in between all of those worlds. So yeah, so that's me. I mean, you said it. Coffee, Bravo TV, Hamilton lyrics. That's me in a nutshell.
I love it. So here's the thing. I have to hammer you with that Bravo question right now. Have you watched or are you planning to watch the Ultimate Girls Trip that's on Peacock?
I'm going to sound so horrible, but I haven't even heard of this.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Back up. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm way too current. What's your favorite Housewives franchise?
Oh God. Okay. So like currently right now, I cannot get enough of Salt Lake. Like this whole thing with Jen Shaw and like I'm so enamored with it. And like I feel like all the women know something and they're all acting so weird. And so like every week I'm like dying to see what's happening on Salt Lake. I love Potomac. I mean, honestly, I watch every single franchise. The only ones I don't watch are New York and Atlanta, but all the other ones I watch.
Did you watch Beverly Hills with Erica Jane?
Oh my God. Like, what in the world? What in the world is going on with Erica Jane? Like the mascara, and then like she's one thing, and then like I used to love her, but now like I don't even know what to think about her. And this whole Tom Girardi thing is just bonkers.
Tom Girardi is definitely bonkers. Folks are so divided on Erica. Mentally, I'm in the beauty lab parking lot. That's where I am.
Do you have six lawyers that you can just call on standby, or are you like in the bathtub with Meredith, like just unfazed by the fact that you're naked and talking to Mary? Like that whole episode, every minute I'm like, wait, what's happening? And then this, and then everyone's crying, and then the new housewife, gosh, what's her name? Jenny, she's just sitting there and she's like, what in the world is wrong with these women?
See, here's the thing. I am not cool like Meredith because I was just like, what the hell? I don't care. Like, how can you not be shocked? But Meredith earns the title of Ice Queen. But I think I was Jenny in that moment. I'm watching everyone freak out. I'm like, okay, but we don't know what's going on yet. Let's wait. And then when the hammer starts to drop, I'm also Jenny at the table saying, if you know something, let us know kind of thing.
Seriously, like, why is this such a big secret? And then like everyone's like throwing shade at her. And it's like, holy crap. I just don't know.
I know. It is wild. You'd probably think this is a Housewives podcast, but it's not. We just love our housewives. But I'm telling you, when we get done, Google Real Housewives Ultimate Girl Trip, watch the trailers. And if you don't have Peacock, I promise you'll probably get Peacock afterwards.
We do have Peacock because last season of Below Deck, they were like releasing it a week early and they're not doing it with this season. So my husband and I are like a little upset because we're like, come on, like we want our Below Deck a week early.
Okay, I'm thinking Allie and I need to have a bonus episode where we just talk all things Bravo because...
Oh my gosh, I'm totally down. Totally down.
I am here for it. I'm here for it. And go watch Ultimate Girls Trip. You have
okay, I'm going to do that when we get off this.
Okay. But Allie, yes. I want to know about your first book recommendation that you're recommending readers to grab this holiday season.
Okay, so my first one is perfect for someone that loves romance. And it's called The Charm Offensive, and it's by Alison Cochrane. And it came out this year, and basically it is a queer romance, and it features Dev and Charlie. And Dev is a producer on a Bachelor-like show called Ever After, and he is this like, I believe in true love and like rainbows and sunshine. And then you have Charlie, who's the bachelor on this, trying to find his ever after, with women, and he's just like super stiff and standoffish, and like he's horrible on camera, but he's doing it to get his image back because his like whole career imploded. And then they are forced into close proximity, and they're kind of realize that they might be into each other. And it's such a beautiful story, and there's such amazing queer rep, but then there's also phenomenal mental health rep. And I think that anyone who loves romance is going to love this, but then also anyone that is like looking to read something where you're maybe not feeling like you belong, this is like the perfect book for you.
Awesome. And your second book is?
My second book is called The Keeper of Happy Endings, and it's by Barbara Davis, and it is perfect for historical fiction lovers. And funnily enough, even though I love nonfiction and I love history, I'm like so on historical fiction books. And I don't know why, but this one is like completely different from any historical fiction book I have ever read before, because it has two timelines, and you're seeing how two women are connected to each other surrounding a mystery of these wedding dresses. And one timeline is in World War II in Paris. And then the opposite timeline is in the 1980s. And that's actually like considered like the present day. And both these women, it's an older woman and then a younger woman, and they befriend each other because the older woman becomes the landlord, and they start finding these connections between their stories and their lives. And it was one of those books where like you read a little bit in one of the times, and then it like starts getting good, and then it jumps either to like the past or the present, wherever you weren't reading. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I have to keep reading to then know like what's going to happen in that alternate timeline. So that is my historical fiction recommendation.
And who do you think that book would be good for?
Anybody that loves historical fiction, but then also if people love like mysteries, or even people that like women's fiction will really like this book. It's definitely not heavy on the World War II, like war, like really hardcore history side. It has dabbles of that. And it's more of like a story of hope and transcendence. And there's like, I just don't want to give too much away because there's surprises.
Right. Absolutely. And your third recommendation is?
Rock, Paper, Scissors. It's by Alice Feeney, and it came out just a couple of months ago. And I think it is just a fantastic thriller. So anyone that likes thrillers or mysteries, you're definitely going to want to pick this one up. I actually lent it out to a couple of friends after I read it because it was just so good. And I'm not one to read thrillers. But basically the premise is it's told in two perspectives, and you have a husband and a wife, and they go to this secluded Scotland chapel that's been converted into a hotel, and it's super creepy, and like neither of them want to be there, and they're trying to fix their marriage. But then they like keep hinting that there's like some weirdness going on with the place that they're staying. So you're slowly brought into, okay, like, who do I believe more? Do I believe the husband? Do I believe the wife? They're both super unreliable. Crazy things are happening with the weather and the generator, and there's a snowstorm. And then you start getting a couple different other perspectives, and I don't want to give it away. But it was one of the first thrillers that really, truly shocked me when I got to the twist. And it's a super slow burn thriller. So it's not gonna like, you've got to work to get to the twist. But when you get to the twist, it's so satisfying. And for me, I'm not a big thriller person. So like when I loved this, I knew it was a good thriller.
Yay. Ali, thank you so much for coming on the show and speaking with me. This was a blast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
Readers, I had so much fun speaking with Rachel, Caro, and Ali, and I want to thank them again for coming and lounging on the couch with us and sharing some great books for us to gift this holiday season. Continuing with our Books to Gift series, 3 more readers will be lounging on the couch with us in the next episode and sharing the books they're recommending that you gift this holiday season. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Reader's Couch. You can find out more about the show and submit your questions for our guest by visiting our website, thereaderscouch.com. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Couch Is Booked. If you like the show, please subscribe, share, and take a few seconds to leave a rating and review. Next week, I'll be back with new guests, more books, and some fun games we can play. But until then, stay lounging, stay reading, and whenever you're in doubt, go straight to your local bookstore or library. Thanks for listening, and happy reading.